Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video demonstrates how to use the multiplication rule to perform calculations. Let's get started. So let's look at an example where we've got marbles in a bag. So let's say we've got a bag with 145 marbles, and of those 145 marbles, 16 are green, and every other marble in the bag is white. So if we randomly select one of the 145 marbles, and let's say we get a green marble, so we're going to call that event A. And then we're going to put the marble back in, so it can be selected again. So that makes it, we're going to be selecting with replacement. And so we select another marble again, and we get a green marble the second time. So the question is, determine whether the given pair of events A and B are independent or dependent. Go ahead and stop the video and decide on what your answer should be, and then we'll come back and see if you got it right. Okay, well, I hope you selected answer option A. These events are independent because the occurrence of one does not affect the probability of the occurrence of the other. Typically, when you're selecting with replacement, your events will be independent. When you're selecting without replacement, your events will be dependent. So, the real clue here to knowing whether or not they're independent or dependent is here in the problem statement. It says you're selecting with replacement. So, typically that means you're going to be independent. And there is a 5% guideline that's mentioned in items C and D. We'll get to that here momentarily with another example problem. So with replacement is the key word here. Now let's find the probability that A and B occur. So remember, probability of A and B is the probability that A occurs in the first trial and B occurs in a second trial. So go ahead, stop the video, see if you can remember how to calculate this from what we demonstrated in the last video, and then come back and we'll see how you did. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is find our sample space. So there's 145 marbles in the bag, so that's going to be our sample space. Next, we're going to ask, are the events independent or dependent? Okay. Here's our general formula for calculating using the multiplication rule. And then we're going to calculate each probability in our product and turn to multiply. Now, remember from what we saw just a moment ago on the previous slide that our events are independent because we're selecting with replacement. We're going to put the marble back in the bag every time we take it out. So we're going to calculate each of the probabilities in turn and then multiply them together. So we just identified our events as independent because we're selecting with replacement. So that means we're going to calculate the probability of the first event, which is taking a green marble out of the bag, as the part over the whole. So there's 16 green marbles in the bag out of 145 total. So there's the probability of the first event, which is event A. Now what we're going to do is look at the part for event A. There's the whole for event A. And now we're going to calculate the probability of event B. Because we're replacing the marble, okay, notice we have 16 for the part and 145 for the whole. We put the marble back in the bag, so the numbers we're using to calculate the event don't change. So this 16 is the part for event B because we put the marble back in the bag. Likewise, the whole for part B is going to be the same because we put the marble back in the bag. So when we multiply this out, we get our probability, which is 1.22%. Now let's consider the case where we've got the same example problem, but now we're selecting the marbles without replacement. Go ahead, stop the video and see if you can calculate this on your own, and then come back and we'll see how well you did. Okay, let's see how well you did with this. So first we're going to start with our multiplication rule. We're going to find our sample space. There's 145 marbles in the bag to start with. We ask whether the events are independent or dependent. Well, now that we're selecting without replacement, that means that there's going to be one less marble each time we take one out. We're not putting the marbles back in. So we're going to have to adjust our numbers accordingly because we're selecting without replacement. Now we can calculate each of the probabilities in turn and multiply them together. So we start out with the probability of getting the green marble on the first try. So when we take the first marble out, there's 16 green marbles and there's 145 total. So 16 is the part, 145 is the whole. Then we calculate the next probability. Now that we've taken a marble out and we haven't put it back in the bag because we're sampling without replacement, now there's one less green marble in the bag and one less marble total. So 15 will be the part for event B because we took the one green marble out and didn't put it back in. Likewise, the whole is going to be one less, 144, because we took the marble out and didn't put it back in. These are the probabilities for our individual events. Now we multiply them together and out comes 1.15%. You can see there's a slight difference here. So it depends whether your events are dependent or independent, and that all depends on whether or not you're selecting with replacement or without replacement. And that brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.